What's the happiest country in the world? Hello guys, and welcome back to this new video. Today we are going to talk about the happiest country in the world. And if you think that that's Finland, you're wrong. Or you might be right, but I have different stats. So let's start. What are recognized as the happiest country in the world are the so-called Scandinavian countries. Scandinavian countries, by which we mean basically Norway, Sweden, Finland and Denmark. Denmark belongs to that category, considering also a bunch of different factors, among which education and the specific aim of education, which is, yes, to educate young children, young adults and adults, but also to primarily focus on people's happiness. And the fact that in countries like Denmark, you could be a rubbish man, you can be someone collecting garbage, and having, for instance, a degree in engineering is not seen as having a diminishing job or a job that doesn't reflect your qualities, but it is seen as doing something you like more and focus more on what makes you happy, which could be, you know, just to collect garbage from the streets, for the simplest reason that, for instance, it allows you to walk every day. I don't know, something along those lines, for example. And so those Scandinavian countries are considered the happiest in the world. Well, the different reasons why it is so can be traced back to a bunch of different factors. For instance, the fact that they are wealthy countries, even though their wealth might be just very recent, like in the case of Norway. They're generally a wealthy country where like everyone can work, so the unemployment rate is not very high, and those are countries where there is a circle of people, mostly your family and then some few friends, which are going to accompany you for life. Danish, like Swedish people, they live very much in small circles. And that is something important because it strengthens the bonds within the members of that circle. And it is true that they don't pay much attention to other people outside of that circle, but that also increases their level of security. And another factor that contributes to happy lives is saunas. The saunas are very important in that culture, and apparently they are connected to good memories since childhood, and that makes the life of a Scandinavian person happier. It is true also though that if we look at one of those countries, we see that people that are outside of those strict criteria are people that normally suffer from depression. Depression that could be also caused by the severe climate and environment, but depression because also of course human biology being in contrast with 6 months of light, even at night, and human biology being not very much in favor of having snow 7 months a year, but some people can adjust better, and some cannot. And having a certain type of job, having a certain type of family, having a certain type of probably also childhood makes people either the happiest in the world or the most miserable. And those people suffer from depression, and alcoholism is very well spread in those countries. But today, we are not going to discuss any of those countries, because in reality there is another country that on official statistics is like between the 95th and the 156th position, but for us and for today this is the happiest country in the world. Now, it is the happiest, not because I have decided so, but because it is the only country that measure happiness also outside economic factors. We're not trying to say that economic factors are not important, but are they really that important? And here we could mention also Harvard studies. And Harvard studies show that money is important up to a certain point. Money is important because it allows you, it enables you to have access to experiences. So it is important to have certain things, like for instance a house and all the necessary tools in a house, or all the necessary decor. It is also positive to have a beautiful house with some space, to have a car to be able to pay for your insurance, for instance, right? And it is also nice to be able to travel. I don't know how much one person can travel, that also depends on the type of job you have, but it would be nice, you know, a couple of times, for instance a year or once a year, to have a nice trip. Now, that is the money that makes you happy. The excess of money doesn't change your life. In reality, there's like a certain threshold, according to Harvard studies again, that can make you happy. But then there's a huge stalling situation between a certain threshold and another threshold. Because if you're well off, but you cannot afford, for instance, a private jet, then there's no major difference in your life. Certainly, being able not to worry about money is important. And having enough money to have access to experiences, to be able to buy things, is also another important factor. But money doesn't make you happy necessarily. And to have money, you have to work. And working conditions, though they have improved, and though we have counter tendencies that are extremely important, but working makes many people unhappy. So today we are going to take into consideration a country where an economic factor is taken into consideration, but it's not the main one. This is a country that by constitution, and we're talking about a constitution from 1729, it is a country whose government is there for the simplest reason of enabling people to be happy. The government is in power to make people happy. There's no other reason for the government than to pass laws that would augment happiness in that country. And this country is Bhutan. Now, it is a very small country compared to others, especially compared to China, which is the biggest neighbor that Bhutan has. And it is a Buddhist country, which has a relevant impact on people's happiness. And it is the land of the thunder dragon. That is what Bhutan means. Now, it is an interesting country because, of course, it does not belong to the most developed countries. For instance, in the capital, Thimphu, there are no traffic lights. And in 1999, television arrived. But 1999 is also the same year in which another law, the law that prohibits plastic bags. So it is a country that has an outlook on the environment, that has a perspective on happiness. And the perspective is not that people now have to be the happiest, but that we have to preserve the world for future generations. And so in 1999, televisions arrived, but plastic bags were prohibited. 2005, tobacco was prohibited. And so this is a smoke-free country. Bhutan is the country where health is very important. Health is measured in 26 days in a month of good health. So what happens normally is exercise. Now, of course, there's a huge Asian tradition that ranges from martial arts to Tai Chi to yoga, and all of those are factors that are contributing to the daily health and daily happiness of people. Physical health is very important, as well as mental health. In Bhutan, being able to control your mind, being able to be content of the life that you have, make the most out of what you are being given, are very important factors. So there's certainly an individual component, or if you like, a religious component, because all of that comes also from the Buddhist tradition that play a evident role in Bhutan's happiness. But it is also a country that has understood something. It does have a direction. It has conspicuously reduced poverty. It has improved gender equality. And it is a country where one of the most important things would be the possibility of people to rely on other people. The strong national identity and the tie bonds within communities are extremely important. Also, Bhutan's people might be just happier because of two reasons. First, their reliance upon rituals. Now, we know this is part of the Buddhist tradition and it comes from Confucius. And being able to express your pain, your sorrow, your negative feelings through rituals might be a better way to just manifest without elaborating your feelings, or certainly better than not having the time to process, because life moves on and you don't have the time to think about what has just happened. And so in that context, for instance, when somebody dies in Bhutan, you do have 49 days of colorful and rich rituals. And of course that will be a better way to express your pain, your sorrow. There's definitely the tradition and the belief in reincarnation that will also help. Anybody who believes in reincarnation, for instance. And this is an important factor because people are not so scared of death, and people are not accepting death. They do know that death is part of life, and they have an easier time accepting that. Also, a very important factor is that death is something they don't refuse to think about. Meaning, if I ask any Westerner, how often do you think about death? The answer might be once a day. But if you ask to someone from Bhutan, how often do you think about death? They'll answer probably 5 times a day. So it has been shown that if you think a lot about death, your brain reacts with happier thoughts. So people are more likely to complete the word joy by putting a Y. So to make it joyful, and so joy would be their answer. And that is an answer that comes easier to people who have thought and do think about death quite often. It allows you to put things into perspective, and it also gives you a sense of peace with what you're doing. So we have to thank the 4th king of Bhutan for giving a direction to Bhutan. It might not be the direction that Westerner or non-countries are going towards, But it seems that they got something very right. Meaning, certainly Bhutan has to deal with its own struggles. For instance, not having access to free education for everyone, you know, because even though education is free, it's not easily accessible. And the same goes, for instance, for healthcare. So there are definitely struggles, and pandemic has made very complicated things for everyone. But even in the pandemic, you see that members of parliament have given 1 month of their salary to the people, and payments have been deferred, and government has actually helped people. And that's not, of course, to say that the other countries have not helped their citizens, but it's to say that there's a clear intent of passing laws that would only make citizens of Bhutan happier. And so that is extremely important and extremely relevant. And it might not be the direction towards which Western and non-countries go towards, but it is important because it shows us a different path that can make people happier. And so as such, it is important to take that into consideration. Now, guys, I hope this really helped, and I'd like to understand what it is, the activity or activities that will make you happy or that will make you happier. So it's important to contribute to this discussion, and so don't forget to comment below. Let us help each other. The question is what it is that makes you happy. So comment below. I'm looking forward to reading all your comments, and we'll talk some more next time. In the meantime, if you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel, and I thank you all for the support, and we'll talk next time. Bye!